Hello everyone, welcome to Dialogue between Chinese and English Classics. I'm Professor Pu from the College of Foreign Studies of Jinan University.
And I am James, a guest teacher at the College of Foreign Studies of Jinan University.
James, to follow up your last question, in this part, we'll discuss the relationship between Slider and Han San, starting from his translation of Han San poetry. As we know, Slider encountered Han San in the fall of 1953 when he entered as a graduate student in East Asian languages at the University of California. There, he read Chinese poetry with Dr. Chen Shixiang and translated poems of Chinese Zen poet Han San.
I am so curious about Han San and his poems. Professor Pu, shall we read more of Han San's poems and Snyder's translation?
Of course. Let's read this one together. Firstly, I will read the original poem in Chinese. 遥遥寒山道，落落冷见冰。啾啾常有鸟，寂寂更无人。淅淅风吹面，纷纷雪鸡声。朝朝不见日，岁岁不知春。There is an image of Han San in this poem again. Moreover, most special of all is the fact that every line begins with compound words, like 遥遥, 落落, 啾啾, 寂寂, 淅淅, 纷纷, 朝朝, 岁岁. Let's see how Slider translates this poem, James.
Yes. Rough and dark, the cold mountain trail. Sharp cobbles, the icy creek bank. Yammering, chirping, always birds. Bleak, alone, not even a lone hiker. Whip, whip, the wind slaps my face. Whirled and tumbled, snow piles on my back. Morning after morning, I don't see the sun. Year after year, not a sign of spring. Though I cannot fully understand the Chinese version, I could feel Snyder's efforts to deliver the original beauty of Han San.
You are right. On the one hand, to make it more rhythmical, Slider basically keeps the original word sequence of the line and eliminates the collective words when possible, as in the first 4 lines of his translation. On the other hand, Snyder has to make changes to the compound words due to the difference between Chinese and English languages. For example, 遥遥 is translated into rough and dark, 啾啾 translated into yammering, chirping, and so on. That's all for this poem. How about reading another one?
Okay.
迢迢山岭峻，万仞险隘危。石桥莓苔绿，石涧白云飞。瀑布悬如念，月影落潭灰。更登华顶上，犹带孤鹤栖。It begins with a mountain again, though the speaker does not directly state that it is a cold mountain. Nevertheless, we can easily draw a mind picture about the mountain through the lines. James, would you please read the English version for us?
No problem. The translation is as follows. The higher the trail, the steeper it grows. 10,000 tiers of dangerous cliffs. The stone bridge is slippery with green moss. Cloud after cloud keeps flying by. Waterfalls hang like ribbons of silk. The moon shines down on a bright pool. I climb the highest peak once more to wait where the lone crane flies. I can see a lot of natural images in this poem. The trail, cliffs, the stone bridge, green moss, clouds, waterfalls, and the moon. It is an amazing picture. Is Han San a recluse, as Chinese people say?
Thank you for your interpretation and the question. Images do prevail in most Chinese classical poems, which has a great influence on American Imagist movement. As for Han San, a recluse as he is, this poem is attributed to Han San's friend, Si De. In some ways, our contemporary idea of Han San is the creation of a Zen tradition and the Chinese delight in eccentrics. His poems are much loved in Japan, and the formal Zen lectures are given on his work. The mountains and caves that are associated with him are still there. People visit them regularly.
Great! I cannot wait to read more of Snyder's translation of Han San's poems.
Sure. Let's read and analyze Snyder's translation of Han San's poetry together. Let me read the original poem first. 登至寒山道，寒山路不穷，溪藏石累累，涧阔草蒙蒙。台华非关羽，松闽不甲锋。谁能超世垒，共作白云中。Han San is hard to pin down religiously. Zen concepts and terminologies often appear in his work, but he also criticizes the Buddhists, and he puts critiques on Taoists, while he brings Taoist scriptural quotations and Taoist terms in his poems when describing the mountains. James, I would like to invite you to read Snyder's translation of this poem.
Thank you, I'd love to. Clambering up the cold mountain path, the cold mountain trail goes on and on. The long gorge choked with scree and boulders, the wide creek, the mist-blurred grass. The moss is slippery, though there's been no rain. The pine sings, but there's no wind. Who can leap the world's ties and sit with me among the white clouds? This is the translation by Gary Snyder. How I hope I could read the original poem by Han San. As I listen to your reading, I can feel the rhythm and rhyme. It is musical. While I am reading, it seems that I am walking along with Han San on the cold mountain.
You are quite right. In this poem, the natural themes, such as the mountain, gorge, creek, grass, moss, and the pine, prevail in the poem, and the readers are led to go on the same trail with the speaker. However, the poetic question in the end reveals that not so many people in the world have the opportunity to leap the world's ties and sit among the white clouds, which is a perfect life for Chinese hermits. I guess, in translating the poem, Snyder expresses his wish to live the life as Han San depicts, and he truly makes it in the mountains of Nevada. Let's appreciate another poem by Han San, and I would like to read the Chinese first. 重岩我不居，鸟道绝人迹。凭据何所有？白云报忧时。坐之凡几年，屡见春冬意。寄语钟鼎家，虚名并无益。How does Snyder translate it? James, would you please read it?
Thank you. Yes. In a tangle of cliffs, I choose a place. Bird paths, but no trails for men. What's beyond the yard? White clouds clinging to vague rocks. Now, I've lived here. How many years? Again and again. Spring and winter pass. Go tell families with silverware and cars. What's the use of all that noise and money? If I did not know it was a translation of Han San's poem, I would think it is an original creation by Snyder. It seems that Snyder has instilled a modern spirit into the poem with these two lines. Go tell families with silverware and cars, what's the use of all that noise and money? Of course, it reveals that Han San is never outdated nowadays.
I can't agree more. You know, in Snyder's opinion, The ancient Buddhist teaching of non-harming and respect for all of nature is an ethical precept we are in great need of now more than ever. As the explosive energy of the modern industrial world pushes relentlessly toward an endless exploitation of all the resources on the planet.
Yes, I know that the ecological environment is always what Snyder cares for. Professor Pu, after we read Snyder's translation of Han Shan's poem, I now understand why Snyder titles his poetry anthology Rip Rap and Cold Mountain Poems, and we can see his affection towards Han Shan. But I have this question. How has Han Shan poetry and Buddhist philosophy influenced Snyder's poetry of nature?
Good question again. But I think we have to leave this question to the next part. And that's the end of this part. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.